Welcome back to another Fellowship of Fandoms podcast episode. I am your friendly neighborhood host, Strider. Here with me, I have Shiv, my brother in arms. And here we are going to talk tonight about House of the Dragon Season 3, Episode 5. But just before we dive into that, there's something worth mentioning, and that is the fact that The Odyssey by Christopher Nolan is finally out. It's been out for, I don't know, five, 6 days at this point. It's been breaking all sorts of records. In the opinion of Fellowship of fans, I think it's the jury is pretty unanimous at this point. Not all of us have seen it yet, but those that have, it's breaking all the records for all the good reasons in a very, very deserved manner. Hell yeah, it's an epic movie. We did this live stream with our sister channel, Fellowship of Fans. That was a 2-hour discussion with Shiv, with Jessica, and Harry. If you want to just have 3 people nerd out about that movie, that's the place to go. And also, if you just want to hear a non-spoilery discussion, my buddy Shiv here actually edited a video about it from that big live stream, so you can just go check it out on this channel. It's great. I enjoyed listening to both, and it was great to just hear people nerd out about this movie in the way that I felt as well after having seen it. And it's been 3 days, and I'm still rambling about it to everybody I meet. It's just great. So yeah, and we'll probably be getting out a couple more videos because this movie is just insane. It's a generational movie, and we'll be blabbering about it for quite a lot. But yeah, I think we can also just go back to the topic. House of the Dragon Season 3, Episode 5. Unbowed and Unbent. It's the middle of the season. We have officially moved into the second half of Season 3. We're in Episode 5 out of 8. So we haven't had any huge battles for a while. We had them at the beginning of the season. Now we are dealing with the change in the status quo that changed a lot, because Irina is now ruling King's Landing. She's effectively the queen, and the kingdom, the Seven Kingdoms kind of think like the official story is that Aegon is dead, which of course the viewers know it's not the case. But we are now just kind of seeing how everybody's dealing with all these new circumstances. The coffers of the crown are very much empty, and you cannot run a kingdom without money. So that's a big issue on their side. And the Greens, on the other hand, are dealing with the fact that at this point they are pushed towards the defensive. And we have Sir Ormond Hightower kind of barricading himself in Tumbleton. We have Kristen Cole and Gwaine Hightower waging guerrilla warfare against the army of Rivermen and the Wolves from the north, the Stark army that was sent to help Rhaenyra. And then there's also a couple other smaller storylines. We have Aegon and Larys Strong wandering around the country, and I don't know, I think that's going to be an interesting conversation to have in a couple of moments. But it's just a lot of pieces moving around the board in the new circumstances, and yeah, that's kind of where we are. So maybe before we go into the one of the plots proper, how are you feeling? Like, it's middle of the season. What's the what's your where does this season lie so far? You don't have to not necessarily to rank it or something, but how are you feeling? Like, we are in the middle of the season, we went into the second half. Where are you at with your level of enjoyment and all of that?
Pretty curious with you, actually. I don't know if you remember, but last stream I said I watched the trailer for the next episode and noticed that it said and the next episodes to come, and I was like, oh, that's kind of strange. Usually it's just the next episode, not looking ahead to future episodes. So my suspicion was it was going to be an episode with less action, and I feel like for the most part that's what we got. And like you said, the board is, well, as Gandalf said, the board is set, the pieces are moving. I think we're getting now the pieces are starting to move around, but maybe not a lot of action. And so season-wise, had a strong start. I think we're in a bit of a dip now, and hopefully towards the end, things start to ramp up. This episode did have a pretty exciting cliffhanger that I'm sure we'll get to, but other than that, yeah, kind of a slower paced episode. Do you share the same, or are you feeling like it was, at least it had a lot of exposition that was interesting to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think It is definitely a slower episode for sure, but I am enjoying this. I think season 2, though, it also bears repeating that I feel like it has a much rougher reputation than it maybe would have had if some things didn't happen the way they did. We talked about this on on some of the previous episodes with all the background stuff. So I feel like people are maybe judging it too harshly because it didn't have the explosive ending that it should have had. But I do think that in season 2 there were still some things happening where they were maybe trying like it was like they kind of wrote themselves into a corner, and then characters would have to go do weird things that don't make much sense in terms of motivations and also maybe within the world. So like Alicent traveling to Dragonstone and then Rhaenyra traveling to King's Landing, and somehow none of the two of them gets caught. They both live. It's fine. They talk to each other. It's like, what is going? Really, this is, So, but I feel like this season, I don't know. Maybe it just got really good in like tuning out and like kind of compartmentalizing parts that don't make sense. So maybe I don't see them anymore. But I feel like that this season so far, what characters are doing, it more or less makes sense. People who read the books might disagree with this, but I feel like for me so far, I'm having a nice time watching these episodes, even though there's not like a lot of action. But it is definitely a fact that there isn't a lot of action going on currently. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it's just like it's not. It all makes sense. It makes sense that things are happening that are happening now, and I'm having fun watching them unfold, even though it's not like crazy.
Yeah, totally agree. And I figured I'd throw one point out randomly in this episode just because I don't know where exactly it would fit in our conversation. But one thing that kind of sparked me in this watch was the actress that plays Rhaenyra does a great job of balancing being like having leader qualities and showing like a lot of intensity to now kind of showing this like confused politician almost, where she feels like she doesn't have all the answers and stuff based on her, her new position, if you will, of being queen. And I feel like the actress does a great job of dealing with that. Like I feel like that's a highlight emotion that you can easily see in the camera. But yeah, she's been intense in previous episodes, and now we're getting kind of this side of her character, which is kind of unsure of herself. So I just wanted to throw that out as something that popped up this time around.
Hell yeah, I think I know what you mean, and I do think she's doing a great job. And I know we had like kind of like a plan on how to discuss different points in this video, but maybe we don't have to follow it always. So maybe let's go to the storyline with Rhaenyra, since we're talking about her already, because I do also want to say there's a scene that I enjoyed so much because you had two actors acting next to each other, speaking in a made-up language, and absolutely nailing every single beat of all the emotions they were feeling in this conversation. And it was just I'd finished watching the episode just very recently before recording this. I'm absolutely going to go rewatch those like 2-3 minutes of Daemon and Rhaenyra. I guess they were in the Sept. I guess it's the Sept of Baelor, or I don't know, one of the Septs. I don't know if it must have been built. That by the time of Game of Thrones, there's a Sept that's called the Sept of Baelor, and that's this big church, quote unquote. And I think it's this place. It must have been built. I think it's the same set. But whatever. Anyway, they're there. They're talking in High Valyrian because that's only Targaryens speak this language. So it's basically the secret language of the dynasty. It makes sense to use it when you're not alone. And they were just so good. It was just like, and the language, the way it's designed, it has this sounds that are not very like English sounding sounds. I mean, it sounds like in some ways like Elvish, like, it sounds very fantastical. And they just nailed it because it's, I mean, these two actors, right? Like they're just really good.
Acting's already hard on its own, so to act in a made-up language, it's a feat. Yeah.
And like kudos to dialect coaches. Like they don't do this on their own. They're always for these things. I think it must have been the norm before, but I feel like the Lord of the Rings might have actually been like the standard setter for all the stuff that came afterwards, where you have dialect coaches on set, people who are there to help with like all of these scenes, who are there to like adjust the script, to do these little things to make these scenes really land. And I feel like this scene is just such a wonderful example of that. Yeah, just beautiful. But that's kind of like the middle of that storyline over there. So there's a couple of things going on in King's Landing. So we have that whole thing with Helena and her pregnancy. We have Misaria get, I think the term is catch wind of this. Is this the term?
Catch wind of this, like a saying,
like she catches wind of the pregnancy. I think that's like that's the phrase, right? Like my English is pretty good, but like sometimes I'm like, is this the or did I hallucinate this? And then on the other hand,
lied to you and come up with some like random saying that isn't real.
Please do this next time.
She caught a trout on that one.
Yeah, just I'm all for that. Please do. I love pranks like that, so hell yeah. But speaking of pranks, we have another thing going on in King's Landing, and that's that somebody is unaliving City Watch, and
fun prank.
It's fun prank. It's so good, right? So yeah, and they're trying to figure out who it is. And Daemon, who was once during a period in season 1 and within like in world, I think for several years even, he was the commander of City Watch, so he kind of feels protective and he feels some kind of ownership of it. So he kind of gets onto this case, and he along with Luther, who is the commander of the City Watch at the moment, he's kind of trying to figure out what's going on. And yeah, they learn that it's actually Ormond Hightower who has paid for somebody in his name paid some people from the city to start attacking City Watch. So there's a whole investigation. It turns out he's minting coins with Darren Hightower. So this is the youngest son of Alicent Hightower, and Ormond is minting coins with the likeness of Darren, and he wants to push him. He basically declares Darren the next king pretender, and he wants it to be Darren Hightower, not Darren Targaryen. So Daemon finds, after torturing one of the killers, he finds these coins with the likeness of Darren and shares this with Rhaenyra. And then, well, there's a development for the storyline. Maybe we can get to that in a minute. But for now, so basically, what are your thoughts on this storyline? And then on the other hand, maybe you can then segue into this next point. Also, this whole thing with Helena's pregnancy, where Alicent is trying to have her basically like get rid of the pregnancy because she knows that that's a danger for Rhaenyra, and then that means that that's a danger for Helena. Misaria figures this out, but then Alicent manages to get her to be quiet about this, promising favor of the Hightowers to Misaria. And then there's a final development in this storyline as well. But yeah, maybe like, what are your thoughts on the Watchmen, the whole investigation stuff, and then Alicent and Helena and Misaria?
Yeah, I feel like, and this is definitely not a notch against the showrunners or the writers, because you're limited to what, like 8 episodes in this season or whatever it is, every year or every decade it seems like we get less and less episodes from shows. But
yeah,
I feel like it would have been really cool if they were to make like I don't know if psychological thriller is the right word, but you know, like those investigative movies where someone's trying to solve a crime. Seven something, yes, something like that.
7 House of the Dragon episode. I'm in.
Yeah, like something like that for these murders. Like it could have been a really cool, framing to go around trying to solve this mystery. But it almost, at least to me, it kind of felt like a afterthought. It's just like, oh, people are dying, go investigate it, and then I guess I'll go investigate it, and end of the episode, what happens there. So it would have been cool if they were to play around with that a bit, add more stakes to it.
If this was like happening across like a few episodes, you get like two guards lost their lives, and then 2 episodes later, actually like 4 more lost their lives, and then like Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, something like that would have been cool. But hey, I'm not going to knock it. They got a million stories to cover in 8 episodes, so. But more to be desired there, I feel like. I will say the Alicent Helena storyline is pretty interesting. It piqued my interest at the end, so maybe I will segue into that because it's like a piece of the cliffhanger, if you will, of the
Yeah,
episode. But as they're escaping and going through the secret corridors that ironically were used to
for the assassination attempt.
Assassination attempt, that's a
That
better way of
then
saying it.
went a different way and arguably in a way worse way than planned.
So ironically, they're going down those same pathways, and they got spooked by a cat, I think, or a rat or something, and ended up being trapped in there when they found that the I guess the exit corridor was blocked and without light. And
yeah,
that's a pretty scary predicament to be in. I wonder what's going to happen to them. Like, that's a cliffhanger.
yeah, I did not also see that coming at all. It's like I thought, they're gonna escape. That's it. We're gonna see them like ride off into the sunset or whatever. Like, get out of the tunnel and then pick up next episode with like a time skip, and they like are maybe out of the town already, or they're trying to get out of the town or something. And it's like, oh, and then the light goes out, and it's like, that's gonna be interesting.
And yeah, like you said, that's kind of what I was expecting from them. And it is, Westeros, Game of Thrones. So I thought they would have escaped and then get captured somewhere, something horrible. But I mean, that would be a choice to make, to have them be trapped in there for the rest of the season, and bad circumstances occur like that. That could be an interesting end. But I don't, who knows? Because those walls are pretty thick. So there's a potential of no one hearing them.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that piqued my, out of everything in the episode, that piqued my interest. You mentioned Ormond and something. I don't know if this scene stood out to you at all, or if I'm just reading into things. But when he's playing, I'm calling it chess. I don't know what the actual game is. Chess. So anyone in the comments know what the actual in-world game is, let us know. And him kind of losing to the potential future king. I feel like the outburst was significant, and I wonder if it's foreshadowing to the prince outsmarting him in some way in the future. So that, I feel like there was weight to that scene, and I, like I said, don't know if did you kind of have that? I don't know, did anything stand out to you during that scene at all, or am I just in crazy town right now?
No. I think you are, again, I believe the term is right on the money. And you will not, I will not take any responses to this. I'm just going to run with it. No, I think that's exactly how I saw it as well. I cannot wait to see where the, let's call it, quirkiness of Ormond Hightower is going to take him, because I have no idea where his storyline goes. Like, absolutely no idea. Like, I'm sure, actually I do know what happens to Rhaenyra, because it actually got spoiled, quote unquote, in Game of Thrones TV show. Like, there's like a passing reference to this war, and then Joffrey says what happens to her. I will not reveal this to you. I'm pretty sure Daemon's, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure Daemon's gonna go in the Blaze of Glory, in some epic insane battle, probably with Aemon, because they're kind of like foils for each other. Like, but like, what happens to Kristen Cole is gonna die, whatever. I mean, I'm sure Ormond Hightower is gonna die as well, but I have no idea, like, where, like, what's the flavor of storyline that awaits him, because
you bring up you bring up a good point there too. Like, the show is specifically making a choice to make him kind of short of temper, right? Maybe the books are like that. I don't know. I didn't read them, but I'm wondering, is that another like foreshadowing or character building device going on there? Like, is he going to make some very rash, crazy decision that's going to turn the tide of the war, or is he going to be hot-headed and, I don't know, somehow be in some kind of fight that ends him early. Like, I feel like there has to be some significance to him lashing out like that, other than the sake of lashing out. Like, it doesn't, like, maybe it's to help distance the prince from him. Like, because if he was like a formidable, like a worthy mentor, I could see that relationship. Like, oh, they have a good relationship. Why would he try to, betray him or something? But so maybe it's just that. But I just feel like I feel like it has to lead to something. So I'd be curious to see where that goes.
Yeah, same. But it's also like, on the other hand, he has these like pretty savvy moments, like the way he kind of bamboozled Damon. Like he not implanted, but like he gave them like the wrong kid. He outsmarted Damon. Like he knew that they haven't seen this kid since he was a baby. That they haven't seen Darren since he was a baby. So he kind of played. It was a risk, but it was like a very calculated risk. So like there is a lot of thought, like there's a lot of thinking going on in his head. Very clearly, he's thinking about so many things. And he puts this emphasis on like education and so on, like, or also in this episode, like he's definitely a very intellectual person, but yeah, also at the same time, like he had that outburst in the previous episode. He had this weird moment now where he very much over the top reacted to losing the game. But then he does go, because Darren apologizes, because I guess he got afraid, and rightfully so. And then later, like, Ormond stands up, puts a hand on his shoulder, says, "Don't ever apologize for winning," or something like this. So yeah, that's what I mean. Like, there's almost like a duality between how calculating he is. Like, he's obviously very smart, very cunning. Like, he showed this by now. But also there's this side. So it's like there's this dark side to him. So it's just it's very interesting to see where this is going to go, and I have no idea where it's going to go. And I look forward to it because he is weird. Like, he's a weird dude, and that makes him a cool character. And it's going to be cool to see where the hell that leads. But yeah, I also have no idea what's going to happen with Darren, and will they fall together, or as you said, like maybe Darren will somehow manage to like outsmart him and go to like a different, like finish differently, like separately from Ormond.
Yeah.
But okay, we kind of moved around a little bit, but I guess we can just kind of quickly go back to the fact that, again, actually to the point that he keeps making these moves, which means like he is the guy who sent those killers after. I shouldn't have said that word. Hopefully we don't get demonetized. I mean, not that we are monetized at this point anyway, but still.
Yeah,
it's fine. We can actually use all the words. It's cool. I forgot about that. There's like 3.5 people watching this, so it's fine. He's the guy who sent those people to start attacking the City Watch. So, and then to go back to that, actually, the end of that storyline with Daemon and Sir Luthor is we visit this.
For those listening, Strider's camera paused for dramatic effect and zoomed in.
And I don't know how to zoom out. I'm trying. Okay, there we go. It's so good. I love it.
Keep it in.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, it was very dramatic. Anyway, he goes back to this place where he went to early in the episode. He had this rousing speech to the City Watch. He promised them double the rewards just to stick with Rhaenyra for now, and then it will pay dividends in the long run. And then he comes back, and something massive has happened here. Like, this is not like two guys got sneak attacked in some alley in the Flea Bottom. This is like several of the knights of the City Watch, including their captain, in their like keep, in their like barracks or whatever. And he finds them all dead. And I think it said, actually, this is a nice little Easter egg. It said, written in red paint. It must be red paint, nothing else, nothing terrible. On the wall behind them, I think it said "Feast for Traitors," and that's a cool little Easter egg because I don't know if it's like book 3 or 4, but one of the books in the main series, it's called, I think it's like you have a Game of Thrones, Clash of Kings, and then I think it's Feast for Crows. That's one of the books, and then this is a Feast for Traitors. So it must be like it's 100% a nod towards this title from the main series of the books. Anyway, he finds them all dead, and that's kind of like also the teaser ending for the next episode, which is what I mean. Like when I say like I'm having a good time because they're setting up further stuff. Like there's no idle talk, walk. Like there were some points in season 2, like they are setting up stuff. Like I'm really curious to see what happens in the next episode because this episode set up some things. So yeah, if you have any thoughts or theories or comments on this particular ending, and then maybe you can take us away to the next one of the next storylines we have left.
Yeah, I have no idea where this is going. Like we know that Ormond's paying people off, right? But who are those people?
And this looks like a massive. This is like this wouldn't be done by like 2 people. This must be like how many people are behind this? Like this is like I don't know, 7 or 8 of them were murdered.
Yeah,
like that's.
And they're supposedly like, the highest knights or whatever. So like they're well trained,
armored, trained. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd be curious to see who it ends up being. I guess that could be an interesting question if you were to if it was a character that already was introduced, who do you think would be behind this?
I actually had this. I did theorize about it when I was watching it. I'm not basing this on any particular direct piece of evidence or whatever. It's just a gut feeling, just a guess. But I would go with, I don't know what's his first name, but Manderley, the new Master of Coin.
Ooh, that's a good theory.
Like, that's not based on anything in particular, but he has been, like he has to be, there has to be a point to him, right? Like there has to be something that comes further down the road with him. Like he has a certain role to play. And he has been standing out even on that feast when Rhaenyra fed the nobles rat's dinner that the common folk eat and so on. Like he was there, like he was the odd guy out. He was like, I think, laughing at them and so on. Like he wasn't one of them. He was like kind of doing his own thing. He had like a character of his own, so to say. So I don't know. Like I would not be surprised if it's him. That's just like, I don't know. Do you have a different guess?
So a couple things. So tangent, I don't know if you remember, but last episode I mentioned the actor was in Balls of Fury. And this is almost like one of those conspiracy theories that your phone's listening to you. I logged into Netflix and the first thing advertised in big is Balls of Fury. And I'm like, so you can either look at that, well, that's weird, but maybe because he's now in House of the Dragons, they're trying to capitalize on it, so they're showing him. But like, that movie was from a long time ago, so it's just such a weird coincidence. But anyway, if not him, I guess another person, and maybe you can correct me because I'm totally lost with a lot of these characters, but the lady that she appointed to be a part of her small council.
Oh, in this episode.
Like she seemed very reluctant to be involved. So I was like, oh, that could be something, but I don't know her background. Maybe that makes absolutely no sense because she's somehow related to Rhaenyra. I have no idea.
Okay, I got you. Okay, listen to this. So firstly, I maybe wouldn't consider it a strong favorite to be this person. However, it could very much be so. So first, okay, the camera did it again. I'm just going to go with it. Yes, camera, listen to this now very carefully. So basically, she comes from the Twins, which is like this dual castles that have like a bridge between them. And that's a very important castle owned by the Frey family.
Okay, I remember that in Game of Thrones.
That's pretty far away. Thank you. That's the camera zoomed out finally. That's pretty far away, so I don't think geographically it would be the easiest way to get to her by Ormond Hightower and to make this align. Like it feels like there's plenty of logistical obstacles to make her a likely person to be behind this. However, in Game of Thrones, the Red Wedding is, oh my god, this is going to be such a good segue. The Red Wedding it happens like when Robb Stark and his family and Catelyn Stark, like this crazy event where they just kill all of them. That happens in the Frey's castle. However, this ties to what, my dear friend Shiv? To the Odyssey. This is a huge thing actually, because they violate the right of hospitality. They killed the people who came to their house, who came to feast, who they were sworn allies. They had an alliance. They got angry at Robb Stark, but still they they violated the right of hospitality. This is a point that's actually also brought up in this series. And then, well, the books haven't finished, but in the TV show, and obviously in one way or another, it will also happen in the books if they ever get finished. Arya goes and destroys this family, and that's like it's like the well deserved karmic punishment for violating the right of hospitality. So there we go. Amazing, perfect direct connection to Odyssey 2026. Hell yeah. I'm so happy with this. But still, it might not be. I still don't think she, just because of the logistics, I don't think she will be the. But still, she's a Frey, and as such, she's always one of the candidates to be a betrayer. So
And
that's a good guess.
If
still.
nothing else, it got a good history lesson right there. So that made it worth it.
I hope so. I was like, oh my god, the Odyssey connection. Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think from now, I think we only have like 2-ish or 3-ish storylines left. One of them was relatively small. It was Alice helping Aemond recover his strength and all that. And I guess miraculously, a little bit later in the episode, he saved Alice from a bunch of men hunting her. I thought that was pretty interesting how he recovered relatively fast, but nonetheless, here we are.
It's been probably a couple of weeks at this point. It must have been like it's been a while. It's like these little small time jumps, so you kind of have to like make an estimate. But I guess it's been enough. I guess
it's been enough time. Yeah, I think I mentioned in the last episode, I felt like the dragon was nearby because I was hearing rumblings in the castle. I feel like there were. I feel like. Yeah, we kind of got that this episode too. So it's like, okay, I think we're onto something there.
Well, it seems like Vhagar is just flying around hunting food, basically. That's kind of what's happening while he's waiting for Aemond to recover, because Aemond seems to have been in like, not like in a coma, but he's been like out of it for, I don't know, a week or two.
Yeah, so the dragon is nearby. Vhagar, right? So from that, we can a good segue there is Aegon starts to blame Aemond for all of his failings, and Larys kind of gives him a good stern talking to.
Oh hell yeah!
And I was like, you know what? It was kind of good that they depicted that. He is kind of acting very spoiled, and I hope that it's a good turning point for his character. But this is Westeros. This is Game of Thrones. Maybe the message wasn't received, but at least what we got was Aegon giving I don't know if karma's the right word for this scenario, but he ended up eliminating someone who humiliated him in the what was it, Rook's Rest. I will say, if someone had me kissing a disgusting boot like that, maybe an eye for an eye, can increase one side there because that's disgusting.
Yeah.
But yeah, how did you feel overall with that storyline? And you can segue into the grand reveal from that. Did everything sort of fall in place to you, or were you like, oh, this is a little disjointed? And yeah, so were you kind of landing on it?
I mean, I think I do find the Larys and Aegon storyline interesting because, again, no idea where this is going. Though I might have gotten slightly spoiled, and I'm just trying to like ignore this, and like there's enough room there for me to like raise the issue of is it called reasonable doubt? Yeah, look at me like learning new phrases this whole episode. So it's like, so I'm just kind of trying to ignore this because it's like I'm not completely sure, so I'm just gonna ignore this whole thing. So I don't know where this storyline is going to be honest, but I do enjoy the fact I did like this scene. I think the actors are really good. Larys and Aegon are, I mean, shockingly, all of them are good. The casting is insane as always, but they are really good. I really like Larys's actor. The character is obviously a very unlikable character, I guess, in a way, but like this guy, the actor, I feel like he gives him a layer of warmth somehow. Like I just kind of, I don't know, I just kind of like the actor maybe, and just there's like a tiny bit of warmth there. I don't know. I think I just like the actor. But anyway, that scene with when he gives a lesson to Aegon and calls him out and like, you've been a terrible king, and frankly, even worse, you were a terrible man.
Yeah.
But
Great.
what I like there is, and they obviously did this on purpose because this happens one after the other. Aemond is complaining to Alice about Aegon, and Aegon is complaining to Larys about Aemond. And you have, this brotherly rivalry, which is, it's a very common thing in most of the families. There's always this like sibling rivalry, and like, oh, my mom likes you better. No, my mom likes you better. Like it's just one of those things. Like I have it in my family. It's like, oh, you don't yell at my sister as much as you yell at me, or whatever. You're like, you should yell at her more, or like it's always these little things with like kids. But what needs to happen for all of these people is take away the dragons, kick their ass, throw them into a room, take away all the sharp things, and get some therapists in there and let them deal with their mom issues, dad issues, all the issues they have. Because it's insane. But anyway, I do like how they were kind of making the parallel storyline between the two of them, where they're kind of both. I mean, you saw it, like, they were both like complaining on each other, thinking the other one had it easier. And I thought that was pretty cool. And then, of course, we had this reveal of Tywin Lannister surviving the Battle of the Gullet, and the age-old rule of, if you haven't seen the body, they're not dead until you see the body. He has survived.
I think in a previous episode we were speculating if he survived or not, and yeah, I think that's kind of where we landed. We were like, I don't know, like it's heavy armor, like maybe he is gone, but
Yeah,
look at that.
yeah, he
He's
survived.
back in full force.
He is, and I really like that actor because he reminds me of a friend I have, and also before I had this friend, I saw this actor in TV show called Vikings, and he played a very cool dude there, and I'm just happy he's still here. So yeah, what was your overall take on all of this, and like this whole situation between like two brothers dealing with mommy issues, and lest we forget, Aemond kissed his mom like 3 episodes ago. Let's not forget that. Speaking
We
of
didn't
mom
even
issues.
mention that.
Yeah. Actually, we
totally
forgot to
left
mention
that
this
out.
in that episode, so we are bringing it up now.
Yeah, never too late to bring that up. Yeah, so it's interesting you mentioned the mommy issues, because in the show breakdown at the end of the episode, they were talking about how Alice was acting kind of like a motherly figure
Oh yeah,
to Aemon during this, and they didn't mention anything about Larys. But he's almost being like a fatherly figure to Aegon right now, and giving him tough love that he needs to hear, and hopefully the message is heard. So I do love their dynamic. I hope the show leans into the comedy a little bit more, but it's a serious show. They're in
yeah, it's
serious
tough too.
circumstances, but it's got that, it's like the buddy cop quality to it, but it's just they're not fully leaning into it. But
like the unlikely duo.
yeah, and you could just tell like Larys was basically in his like Danny Glover phase, where he's just like, I'm getting too old for this. He's sick of it at this point. So yeah, I'd be curious now that they kind of aired out their grievances. They found Thailand. I wonder where this takes them. I think their storyline should, in some cases, speed up a bit, because now they have an ally. They probably have better backing because he's a Lannister. So I'd love to see where that's going to go. So yeah, I guess, sometimes having these conversations are good, because watching the episode, I was like, this is kind of a dull episode, but speaking through some of these, it's making me appreciate the episode more, because there's some pretty good developments happening this episode. So yeah, from there, I mean, there's like two, there's only one other storyline for the most,
I guess.
Yeah, 1.5. So
Do the
Adam
half
and
first.
Bela.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Adam and Bela are searching the Riverlands for Aemond. I feel like there's like 2 discussion questions we can have off of that, and one of those being, do you think they're going to become a pair at some point, and could that lead to strengthening the kingdom or leading to some form of division? And 2, do you think they'll be successful in finding Aemond? And if not, who do you think will be successful in finding Aemond?
Ooh, yeah. Firstly, I think Adam if I'm not mistaken, he might be her uncle, actually. So he is
Not a problem in Westeros.
yeah, all is good in the seven kingdoms of Alabama. I think
Wow.
he yeah, I mean
Sorry to
I
our 0.5 listener from Alabama.
yeah, I love you, bro, or whoever you are. Yeah, this is what happens when you record after midnight. Anyway, I think Bela is, I think, daughter of Damon, and I forgot what her name was, but I think she Damon's one of Damon's wives. She was a daughter of Corlys Velaryon, who is the father of Adam. So that makes
Yep.
Adam uncle to, I don't know. It's some way they're related. I think this is the way. Anyway, it's interesting. It's classic Targaryens, Velaryons, and so on. Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere, but also I feel like they didn't overplay it. It was just kind of like a bit of a hint. So I think they did. This is maybe just the way to start setting it up. But speaking of finding Aemond, I think they might. And we say in my country, like, when you look for the devil, well, don't look for the devil, because if you do and you find him, well, it's the devil, and it's probably not gonna end well. So we are entering the last like 30% of the show. Basically, we are like at this point, like we are at the 30% point of the show, more or less. People and dragons are gonna start dropping like flies very soon. So I think if they do, I don't know if they're gonna, like, honestly, this little subplot makes me think that maybe one of them, if not both, might not live to the end of the season because they
And
will find Aemon or something else happens. But
and another question I have, I don't know if you're going to answer it, and I'll try to Google it simultaneously. How far is Rook's Rest from Harrenhal? And I just Googled it in case you didn't know. It says it's roughly
I don't think it's
150 to
too
200
far.
miles.
Yeah, I don't know
So
how much that is relative to like the size of the kingdoms. I don't think it's like that far, especially when you have a dragon.
I want to know if I had to put money on it, which is not a lot. I would say I'm wondering if Aegon somehow finds Aemond in Harrenhal somehow. Like I don't know if there's any connection with Thailand and Harrenhal, or I guess I'm not seeing the entire. Maybe that would be good, is if I kind of reflect on the entire chessboard, if you will, and see who's doing what. But is there any motivation there for them to go over to Harrenhal? But
They did mention
I don't know.
They did mention. Aegon did mention wanted to go to Tumbleton, which I think is somewhere closer, which is where Ormond Hightower is, and so on. They know that they're there. Which, if I was Aegon, I would think, oh yeah, it's my uncle. I guess he's there with an army. He's fortifying a city. Like, he's obviously still fighting the fight. So yeah, I'll go there because he probably. How would he know that he's pushing for Darren Aegon's youngest brother to be the new king? So I think they'll probably head that way.
Pretty cool. Yeah. Did we touch upon everything?
I think the last point is actually Sir Kristen and Gwaine. We did mention that they were attacking the Tully's forces. I think we mentioned. Anyway, Kristen's army was they traveled on foot, and they were like trying to prevent the Tully forces from marching south, and they kind of had this, like, how would you call it? I mean, in a way, also like a chess match, I guess. They had like this little maneuvering game, and then eventually they got outmaneuvered by the blacks. The Tullys managed to like kind of get ahead of them somehow, and they burned the bridge. So now Kristen and Gwaine, with their severely diminished forces that were in the beginning already vastly outnumbered by the blacks, the Greens are now very few in this group, and actually Kristen kind of Gwaine is saying, "Hey, we did the best. We slowed them down by a lot. We lost many men. We fought. We died. The two of us still live. Let's go back. Let's try to reunite with our allies and so on." But Kristen makes this little speech to him, like, "Hey, I came from nothing. So for me, I do not want to serve anybody else. I want to die a hero. I'm the greatest warrior of the realm. And I think the way for me to go is to go on my own terms, and I'm going to attack the the enemy. And as he's giving this rousing speech a bit afterwards, Gwaine and a couple of others, they leave this group, but Kristen Cole and whoever else is left, they seem to have been getting, like, what's the word, primed or whatever, to go and attack the enemy. So I guess we'll see that in next episode, or maybe the episode after that, which I do wonder how that's going to turn out, because they did say, like, there's like 200 of the Rivermen on one of them. So those are bad odds.
I'm wondering how far Kristen is from Aegon. Is it possible?
Oh yeah.
I wonder if this could be an interesting scenario, and this is coming from someone who hasn't read the books. What if Kristen runs into Aegon and then both of them go to Harrenhal for some reason? That and have Aemon being outnumbered. That could be an interesting plot, but who knows? I don't know if there's a motivation to go there. That I wish I understood the world better, but at the very least, I think it's plausible that Kristen could end up with Aegon, unless they're totally far away.
I'm also not an expert on Westeros geography, but I do think they're not. I think that's an interesting theory. Like I think that's a solid option to me from this point of view. I do think that they will. I don't think they will go to Harrenhal. I don't think that's going to happen, because I think it's like too far for them to go on foot through hostile land. I think that it's not going to happen. But I think it's an interesting point that they might meet. If I had to make a bet, because he had this speech, and it seemed like a very good speech. Like they made like a point of making it a scene. It's kind of like a meta reason, but I feel like maybe he might actually go out in the blaze of glory in the next couple of episodes. But I do think it's actually a pretty cool idea, and it sounds like it could make a lot of sense actually to actually end up meeting with each other. So that's another great setup for the next 3 episodes that are going to be. Like, I think episode 7, or actually the penultimate episode of every season so far in Game of Thrones and all of these TV shows, that's the episode when there's like this big thing that happens, whatever is the big thing of the season. So I guess it's just a question of what will it be. But I think there's plenty of cool things that they set up in this episode. It's a good episode.
Yeah, I think talking through it made me appreciate it more. So I'm glad we had this discussion on it.
Hell yeah! Hopefully those 3.5 to 4 people will also listen to this will also enjoy it. But yeah, I think it really does make it more appreciated for me as well. I'm with you, because you hear this other points of view. You hear, I didn't catch that. Like there's always something that one of us catches that the other one didn't. So it just makes sense. But hell yeah, I was going to ask you, like, do you have like a favorite point of this episode? But I'm not sure I do. Like, I just kind of enjoyed all the setup in all of it. But do you have like a favorite point?
I'd say the point that was most interesting was Alicent and Helena getting locked in the room. Like, I'm curious to see what happens there. I will say, I gotta look up his name. The actor who plays the Master of Coin, right?
Oh yeah, no idea. He's doing a solid job so far.
Yeah, Dan Fogler. Yeah, I appreciate his acting, and I hope like he gets a decent run in the show. Like he has good comedy chops too, so I can see there being funny things he could do with that character. So yeah, but yeah. Overall, it's I feel like they're setting up a lot of pieces for an interesting few episodes coming up. So can't wait.
Just before we go, because I feel like maybe we haven't mentioned it enough, the actress that plays Helena, or whatever is the pronunciation, I really like her. I really like this character. She is by design, what's the word? Like she's a bit zoned out in a way, but also it's because she has these dreams and visions and so on, and she like she knows that Aemond is in Harrenhal, and like she has all these little things.
You know who? She reminds me of that character. I don't even know the character's name, but from
Aloof is the word.
Aloof is the word. She reminds me of that character from Harry Potter
Luna
that could
Lovegood.
like see the. Is it? Yeah, reminds me of that.
Yeah, 100%. Right. I didn't think of that. Yeah, that's a good. That's actually they're kind of similar type of character. I think she's wonderful. there's a lot of kind of like sadness and silent strength, like silent toughness behind her, and like something, some of the things that happen to her are some of the worst things that can happen to anybody, especially a parent. I mean, this is a dreadful show when you think about things that happen. It's all terrible. So in the she's a very cool character in the context of a show that's a good show that's covering terrible topics. It's complicated, but I think the actress does a really wonderful job. And I'll say Martin, so the guy behind, like the guy who wrote the books, he is not a fan of the show that much because in his opinion, he wrote about this publicly on his blog website. He doesn't like what they did with a lot of the plot in this show. But one thing he said is that he really likes Helena, that she is a vast improvement towards what was in the books. And I just want to shout out this character because by design, she's often overlooked, I think. So it was just like, oh yeah, you reminded me to say this.
And the actress's name, I'm probably gonna mispronounce it, but I think it's Phia Sabin, Phia Sabin. But yeah, and my memory blanked earlier, but Emma Darcy plays Rhaenyra, and yeah,
Emma Darcy,
phenomenal.
Oh yeah, she and Matt Smith are such a crazy good duo. Matt Smith as David, and Emma Darcy as, I don't know, they're all. I might rewatch this now after we finish the recording. I might just go like rewatch that scene. Anyway, I think with this we can kind of bring up to the end this episode. We talked 1 hour. I guess it will be a bit less when it gets trimmed down, but I had a great time. I think we covered everything in a really nice way. Like there was a lot of points that were brought up, I think, that made things better for both of us. As you said, like this talking things through, and then it just makes the show and the episode specifically feel better. Anyway, that's kind of it for this episode. Do you have any final thoughts? Or
my final thoughts are, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to Fellowship of Fandoms, and we have a lot of exciting stuff coming up. Like Strider said at the beginning, we did an Odyssey review and stream. We have the movie club coming out sometime in July, and we're covering the movie Her and the Royal Tenenbaums. So if you're interested in that, keep an eye out for that release. And I'm sure we're going to be covering many other nerdy things like Dune Prophecy. I'm sure the Dune movie, Dune 3 when it comes out, Marvel stuff, like a whole bunch of different IPs. So I'm excited to have those conversations.
Yeah, and people from our wider team, the original Fellowship of Fans team, are going to be at San Diego Comic-Con this week. So there's going to be a lot of nerd stuff going on in like a couple days after this post. So we will be covering those things. We are working to figure out a way to do this in the most efficient, most fun way, but we will be covering cool things happening later this week. So yeah, as Shiv said, do like, do share, do subscribe, because it's free and helps the channel, and we all feel very nice about it. And it's like there's so few people because this is a new channel, so each of those is like, we see this one, look, we got a like, so yeah, it is what it is. You can do a great noble deed. But yeah, that's it then for tonight. If you want, you can also join our server. There's plenty of nerd talks going over there, from Star Wars to over comic book movies and whatever else, to House of the Dragon, to The Lord of the Rings. There's a really cool nerdy community there that talks about all, like, we even, like, during the World Cup, we had non-stop conversations about it in the general chat as well. So like, it's just a really nice group of people. That's like more than 2,000 of them. So feel free to join. There's something to talk about there. And there are plenty of nice people to meet. But yeah, that's it for tonight. Thanks, Shiv. Thanks to whoever ends up watching this far. Probably my mom. And that's kind of it. But thanks to my mom. Yeah. Have a good one. And we'll see you in a couple of days. Cheers.
All right. Bye.